And it's a new day if you want it to be. Hi, I'm Rhett Palmer. Joey Cafeo is my guest, and he was formerly homeless. He was a criminal. He's young. He's in his very early 30s. Great to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Rhett?
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. 3 short years ago, your life was radically changed.
Yes, sir.
And I guess first, before we tell the conversion story, let's go back to Joey's beginnings. Where are you from?
I'm from Pittsburgh.
Okay. And how did you end up in Vero Beach, Florida, or is that after the story?
Well, my dad was a paint contractor, and so in the early 2000s, he got a bunch of jobs with condominiums in like the Ponce Inlet area, and so we moved down from Pittsburgh just for his work. Lived in a really high-scale $1 million condo on the beach, so I
Cool.
lived a pretty affluent life for a little bit, and then my parents got a divorce,
Mm.
and then when we were looking to relocate, we ended up in Sebastian.
Oh, and Sebastian, okay. So when did your criminal life start?
My criminal life didn't start until after I graduated college. So I went through high school. I was in band and I did leadership and I took it really seriously, so much that I wanted to be a band director.
Really?
Mhm.
What was your instrument?
French horn.
French horn.
Yeah, but the whole time I played drums. I played drums in rock bands and guitar, and so I mean I was no stranger to drinking when I was a little too young or smoking some weed, but I was still a good kid. I still had straight A's.
Really?
Respected
Okay,
my
so this
parents.
straightens it up because I tell everybody this kid, you're a kid to me because I'm 70, 32 years of age, but I said, you look like the all-American good boy.
Right. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think I kind of did even through high school and college. I always had great relationships with my professors and I had a good friend group and we all did well with our schooling and worked hard.
You were just a little naughty. You
Yeah,
liked to
on the
drink, you wanted to have fun like
right.
most teenage boys.
There was a dark side, yeah,
Yeah.
to everything, and unfortunately, as I got older, it got a little bit darker, and some of that came out of the fact that after I graduated from Florida State with a bachelor's degree in music education, I decided to pursue French horn playing because I was getting pretty good. So I actually traveled to Switzerland
Yeah.
to do a master's degree with an American professor that was over there at a conservatory in Lugano, Switzerland. So I put all my ducks in the row and managed to get over there.
And you're studying with a professor about what?
Orchestral French horn playing.
Cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I was
Well,
playing
you were really dedicated.
yeah, I was all in.
Well,
So
no wonder now you've been suddenly exalted within 3 years of being born again. You're one of the part of the worship team,
yeah, I'm a music director.
a music director
Complete
out at
complete restoration. That's the amazing
complete
thing.
restoration
Yeah.
out at Oceans Unite.
Yes, sir.
Very, very popular church, growing exponentially.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But so, okay, so you go out, you go to Switzerland.
So I go to Switzerland. I'm playing, but about 6 months in, I hit a wall, and all of a sudden my jaw starts acting up, and I can't play the way I need to. So like I'm practicing for an hour at a time, and I have complete fatigue, in the muscles in my face. So I don't know what's going on exactly. I'm in a foreign country. I don't have insurance over there. I don't have a lot of money at all. Like I
Yeah.
barely had enough money to get over there, and I'm just scraping by.
How are you
And
scraping by? Is somebody sending you money? Or are you working little
yes.
jobs? Okay.
So my mom did
It's always the
everything she could.
mom.
My mom and my stepdad did
Thank God
everything
for moms.
yeah, did everything they could to get me there and to make sure that I had enough to survive. But I mean, I was just buying just enough to eat. I mean, I was losing weight. I mean, it was a struggle.
I've been
Yeah.
being in Zimbabwe, Africa, and I lived for quite a long time just on peanut butter and jelly and Ritz crackers,
Right,
or
it was
some
all
kind of crackers.
over there. It was just all pasta. All
Yeah.
all you ate was pasta. So it was a struggle. But so anyway, I hit like a 6 month mark, and I was at the end of the first semester, and I was faced with a decision like I got to go home. I got to just go back to America and figure out what's going on with my job because the whole reason I'm over there is to play French horn,
And now you can't play French
and I can't
horn.
play French horn.
Wow.
So I always say it's kind of like a football player getting injured. I mean, my
Yeah.
career and I put all my chips, all my cards on the
How
table.
many years had you been playing French horn by this time? 10, 9?
Yeah, probably about 10 years.
For a
little-
young
little
person,
less than
too,
10
because
years,
you're at
right.
what age when you go over there?
23,
So
24.
you start about 14 years of age.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, I'd been playing. and
Wow. That's enough to really rattle your cage.
It rattled my cage pretty good. But so So let's just go back to one important part is right before I went to Switzerland,
Yeah.
I ended up I did 5.5 years at Florida State. So that half year meant that I had a whole spring semester and a summer before I went to Switzerland. So I went from partying like crazy at Florida State, but working hard with my classes, right, to get my degree, to not having school anymore and just having time.
Mm. The devil's workshop
Yeah.
is a empty mind, or whatever they say. Yeah.
So now I just live this lifestyle where, went to football games, partied, played drinking games all the
Sure.
time.
You're young and
But
alive.
now I didn't have anything to do, and I couldn't justify getting a job because, I'm about to leave for Switzerland. So what do I got to do? So I had some money saved up still, and I just end up going to the bars, and so I end up in this friend group that all they do is drink and do cocaine and party and stay up late and go to the beach and that's it. And
Yeah.
so I lived that lifestyle
Getting
for
swallowed up in the
I got
darkness.
swallowed up, and
Yeah.
unfortunately along the way I met a very beautiful girl,
Uh-huh.
and things got serious with her. She had a couple kids, and
From
and
you?
no,
Oh.
she had a couple kids already,
Okay.
and I don't know, I just thought it was a great idea to get super involved with her. And when I had no business being involved with anybody, I'm about to leave the
Maybe
country.
she represented stability somehow, being a mom, maybe.
Yeah,
you
maybe.
know? Was she older than you, apparently? Yes?
No, a little younger actually.
A little younger, but
Yeah,
with two children.
Couple years younger, yeah. So
Okay.
so she was only about, I think, maybe 22, 23.
Well, she started early.
She did, yeah. Now, now that's a huge part of it. So we actually were dating all the way up until I left, really. And then we stayed in touch even when I left. I told her, I was like, there's no way we should stay together. I'm going to Switzerland. Don't plan on coming back.
You're going to Switzerland. You mean you're going to USA?
No, remember, so this is, I went back before I left for Switzerland. So
Oh, this is in America. I thought this was a girl you met in Switzerland.
No, so this is in America. So that's what I said. I had to take a step back because a big part
I
of
see.
it.
Okay, yes. You dropped out of school because you got to wait a year and a half till you can go to school again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, because I graduated
So
Florida State.
here's where you met the gal.
So this is where I met the girl.
And you tell her, don't expect me to come back?
I say, yeah, we're probably not going to stay together. I'm about to leave. What are we
How
gonna
did she handle that?
Oh, she just convinced me that she would come. That she would come there. She would move there if we, let's stay together, and
Yeah.
just gave me hope that,
Yeah.
that things could actually work out that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the whole time I'm over there, she's very emotionally abusive with me and stuff through texts and calls, and instead of being a sweet, girlfriend, long distance relationship.
Why would she be bitter?
I don't know. So that was the thing.
In what way?
So even when I was here with her,
Yeah.
she was. I had never been in a relationship like this where the girl was very emotionally kind of toxic and would lie, and I mean there was thoughts of her still being with her ex at times, the father of her kids, but I just didn't care. I didn't think I was that into it
You're
anyway.
young and naive.
I had
No.
cheated
She was
on-
not over him. No.
Totally not. And I mean I had cheated on girls, and so I mean it just I don't think I valued a monogamous relationship.
You're how old at this time? 18?
No, 23.
Oh, 23. Okay.
This is right before I went to
So you are a
went to
young
Switzerland.
adult,
Right.
purportedly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although the
Probably didn't act
male's
like
mind does not
Right.
is behind the female in time. I think women mature at 18, men at 25.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now things are terrible.
Yeah.
It's very stressful. So now I'm in Switzerland,
Yeah.
continuing a relationship with her from 6,000 miles, long distance, and I find out her ex actually contacts me and tells me we're sleeping together still. Now this just hit me in a crazy way. I mean it just totally wrecked me.
Especially, it's like a Dear John letter for somebody who's in the front line.
Yeah.
Could possibly be killed in it. Here you are in Switzerland trying to study this, and she breaks essentially a Dear John letter from her ex-husband. They're getting back together.
Right. So
Wow.
I mean I'm
You're
already
insecure.
having a
There's
hard
nobody
time.
there. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're in a foreign land. It's
Yeah.
scary.
And it wasn't my idea anyway. I was the one who said we shouldn't even stay together, but we did anyway.
Yeah.
And then just for this
So
to happen.
she's kind of become a foundation for you.
Right. So now this is where it gets even worse. She was supposed to come visit me at Christmas time. So this is the 6 months in mark. She already had a plane ticket and everything.
Didn't come.
She comes.
Oh, she does. And
does.
does she know that you know that she's sleeping with him?
Yeah. So she convinces me, let me come anyway. I'm done. I broke it off with him.
Oh.
So me, just honestly lonely, and
Of
still
course.
like
I
alone
know.
over there, completely alone. Nope.
Yeah.
I lived with a couple American guys and a Polish guy, but we didn't
Full
get,
of an American and Polish guy. Sounds
yeah.
like a joke.
It was it was something, and we lived in this little. I mean, this beautiful. The professor had this like multi-million-dollar house on
Yeah.
Monte Bre
Yeah.
in Lugano, Switzerland, like this Ticino, this beautiful overlook the
Say
lake.
that word again.
Monte Bre,
And that's what?
Mount Bre,
Oh, cool.
basically.
I like the way you say it. Yeah.
So, but he had this
Monte
mother-in-law
Bre.
suite behind it
Yeah.
that he sectioned off for
Mm.
his students, for his American students, because he's a businessman.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, and he's
Yeah.
a professor, so his job is to make sure he has students.
Mm-hmm.
And so he lived in Daytona a couple months of the year, so that's how I met him and actually managed to have a relationship with him before, trying to actually go over there and study with him. So anyway,
A relationship means friendship.
yeah,
You got to watch out; they can be
yeah.
misconstrued.
Well, we had to build a student-teacher relationship, like
Yeah.
before he
Sure.
wants me to come over there and I can show him that I can actually
What
play
an
horn a little bit.
opportunity.
It was great, So, but anyway, so she comes over and
Mm.
it was
Uh-oh.
all rainbows and butterflies, really, because
Rainbows and butterflies.
she was pretty manipulative. She wanted to come to Switzerland and have a sweet vacation, and I like to think I'm a pretty nice guy, so I mean I treated her well when she was over there and
Sure.
everything, and
Happy to see a familiar face,
right,
even
right.
though a deceitful one.
Right. So, and I mean, I was no angel along the way either.
No,
But so, I mean, there's no reason for us to even have continued that on. It was a total fleshly.
Well, when we don't have our code built yet, established by
Yeah.
the Lord above, and you didn't have the Lord at
No,
this time,
no. So, I
so
was
there is no
seeking,
code. You know,
I was just seeking
yeah.
that comfort and
Sure.
this like superficial love.
Sha la la, live for today.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, she goes back,
Yeah.
and then I'm faced with the decision with my jaw and everything and my the muscles in my face that
Gee,
I'm gonna have to go back too. So I do, and I come back. Now I'm in the middle of the year.
You're in the United States.
I'm in the United States. I'm back in Florida.
Yep.
I moved back I'm in Sebastian. I get a little place. I live with my mom for like 3 weeks while I try to find a place and get a car and everything like that.
That's where she is to the girl.
Yeah, she's in Sebastian. Yep. And I'm halfway through the year, so I remember I have a bachelor's in music education, so I could go teach at a school.
Cool.
But I'm halfway through the school year, so they're not hiring
No.
band directors halfway through the year. So I'm like, all right, well, I just have to work, right? So I end up working at a car dealership, selling cars, and bartending on the side. So I'm making pretty good money.
Two noble things.
But I'm in.
I mean,
But I'm thinking I'm just trying to.
cars in the day and selling booze and
Right. So it's terrible. And keep in mind, the whole time I hated selling cars.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I was selling to the managers as much as I was selling to the customers.
yeah.
And,
You have to
and
go back. You need to accept this deal. You know.
yeah, I mean,
Oh my word.
I did not like it at all.
No.
So, and it was
No.
like a entry level kind of position that they had created to where you got paid like just like $100 per car, but you got paid hourly, which is, not normal for a
Mhm.
car sales job where it's just strictly commission. So they basically wanted young people like me who probably weren't
Well,
going to be
they
that.
eat up the youth and spit them out.
Yes,
That's
big
what they
time.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were trying to make a
It's
bunch of money
virtually
off
free
you.
labor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, considering they're paying you like $400 a week. Back then it was like $10 an hour was like
Yeah.
minimum wage, and then
Yeah.
they incentivized it by saying you're going to make $100 per car or whatever.
Yeah.
So that sounded great to me.
Yeah.
At the time, I'm like, I'll sell 10 cars a month and I'll make this much and it'll be
Yeah.
great. That didn't happen. So anyway, what do you do at car dealerships? You hang out with a bunch of other people that are also just smoking cigarettes and
Yeah.
partying on the. So my lifestyle was terrible. It was really bad. So I end up quitting that job, and I bartend for a little bit longer. But then I start getting into selling drugs,
Easy money.
easy money, because all I'm doing is hanging out at the bars.
And when you
ev-
say
every
drugs,
night.
what kind of drugs?
Just cocaine.
Oh, cocaine.
Yeah.
I never tried cocaine. I tried pot, but never.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
cocaine was the thing.
Good money in cocaine, huh?
Right.
Well, at least then there was.
Yeah. And I still looked the part of just the college kid
Yeah.
coming back.
If people could see him, if you're watching him on YouTube or the video or Facebook, yeah, you look like the old American kid. You could be in a TV show, playing the next door neighbor. The
Yeah,
good.
you wouldn't have thought anything.
No.
So I had a,
It's Joey, the good kid.
I had a nice car, but not too nice, like just a
Yeah.
humble car,
Yeah.
and a pretty girlfriend, and a friend group that just looked like a bunch of college kids that just kind of.
Sure.
But 90% of them didn't go to college. They were all local kids who all they'd been
And you
doing.
are who you hang with.
Right, and so
Or you become who you hang with.
I was conformed to just that, big time.
Yeah.
And so things started, now over the course of about 2.5 years, all I did to make money or do anything was sell cocaine and hang out at bars.
How much money do you make selling cocaine? Like,
I mean, if you do it right and you like climb up to like much larger quantities and stuff, the sky's the limit.
like hundreds of thousands?
Yeah, but
That's
I mean,
that's what
more.
perturbs me, because you got young people, they're selling this stuff, and then they have a conversion. It's got to be hard to leave behind that easy money. But the Bible does say, ill-gotten gain grows wings and takes flight.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's a weird thing about it, But
well, I started getting faced with opportunities when I was, moving more weight around. Was, like you have these meetings where you end up meeting somebody who could take you to the next level, and I saw like that it was terrifying. So
why was it terrifying?
Well, because now instead of being entrusted with a couple $1,000s worth of stuff, you're getting entrusted in like $50,000 worth of stuff. What happens if you get robbed? What happens if you make a mistake? What happens if you, and you're living that lifestyle too, or I was. So
that's why you see a family of Hispanics, mom, dad, and the 3 kids all shot on the side of the road, just right near Vero Beach on I-95 a couple of years ago.
Right.
Drug involvement, obviously.
Right. So when I saw that the amount was starting to get to the point where my life could be on the line, I said no way. So I just stayed. Good for me, but I just stayed a low-level peddler. You know what I mean? Like just peddling little bags at the bars. That's it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was still making probably like $80,000 to $100,000 doing that in a year.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the money came in, the money went right back out. Yeah. It was just all part of the lifestyle. Yeah. So, but anyway, so
I ran into a guy from the cartel. They're now writing a book and putting a movie on him. He's making all this money. They're shooting a movie on it. He got converted to Jesus. He's down in the waters of Miami, and he says he's miserable. He's got his wife and 5 girlfriends. There's this couple from Canada who are swimming in the water, and for some reason he starts complaining how he hates his life and blah, 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 and he's miserable. They invite him up to the room. They get out the Bible. He gets converted to Jesus, leaves the cartel. And I said, I always wanted to ask you guys. I watched the movies and stuff. You got 10 million. Why not? They haven't found you yet. So why don't the path's going to, the lead to you is going to get what do you call dry or fade out. Right. So go now, take your girlfriend, and go live off the 10 million the rest of your life. And he's like, I said, why don't you do this? He says, because you always want more.
Yeah. No, because that's the thing. Once you have the most money in your pocket that you ever had, all you think is, now I can make.
And the Bible says, ill-gotten gain grows wings and takes flight. And I don't know why, but it does.
No, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
No.
That's it. It's just not.
God is watching.
No, for sure. So let's see.
So you're back here.
So things are getting worse and worse. Yeah. And now you have. Because now we're going nonstop of this terrible lifestyle, and I mean, no sleep. Unfortunately, methamphetamine is starting to become really popular in the area now.
Did you do that too?
Oh, yeah. So the thing is like, cocaine loses its luster after a while, and like the punch that it packs, when you do it all the time, all of a sudden it doesn't really do as much.
They say if you do cocaine, it doesn't matter. It could be the first time you do it. It could be the 200th time you do it, but it'll suddenly dry up the thing that's in your brain that creates dopamine, and you can never know great happiness ever again in your life. Did you know that?
I've heard that.
Zig Ziglar taught me that. He's a motivational speaker I met years ago.
I mean, you definitely. So that plays into exactly what I'm saying, is the fact that when you're doing it day in and day out for now an elapsed time of like 2 years, 2.5 years. Nothing makes you happy. Like everything is just striving for nothing. And so that's where the enemy can really come in, because now you have jealousy seeping into your friend groups. You have this girl that you love so much, and she's pretty, and all the other guys are trying to get after her too. They don't really like you. They don't care about you. Nobody really likes each other in a friend group of a bunch of people who do cocaine and drink all the time,
False friends.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I heard about some guy who got into AA, stopped drinking. He came back 9 years later to the bar, and the guy says, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a few weeks."
I believe it.
The friendships go deep, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, things are getting really bad. People are starting to sleep around. It just, the jealousy and the sleeplessness just start getting out of hand, and so things start getting physical. I got into a couple really bad fights with guys,
Mm.
break my hands, a couple times.
Did you think you had anger underneath?
Huge, huge amounts of anger, and
That's usually, they say anger is fear or hurt talking.
right, and I believe
You were
that.
fearful.
I think
You knew you were going down a dark path.
I knew that absolutely, and then I was
Yeah.
also very hurt just from even remember this girl and our relationship was founded on mistrust and
Yeah.
and cheating and terrible stuff. So all of that was just
So you not
festering
only don't
underneath.
have a code, you don't have a
I have
foundation.
nothing going on, which is crazy because my mom was an amazing mother. She was an amazing mother. She raised me with values and but I didn't, and she was a believer. But
Oh, so she's praying for you.
she's praying for me behind the scenes the whole time. But she was
Mm.
brought up in the Roman Catholic Church, and then
Mhm.
when my dad and her got a divorce, she lost a lot of faith in the Lord because I mean she really had some hard times. She was raising I have two sisters. She was raising the three of us by herself until my stepdad came
She's
around.
angry with God. Sure.
Yeah, and even then when my stepdad came around, things weren't always great with them. So she's just her luck with men. Her dad was abusive. I mean, was really bad. So she definitely had some resentment towards God. And so in the time of my life where I probably could have used some, her ministering to me a little bit, even from, a mother's role and pointing me towards the Lord and pointing me towards prayer, she didn't. And we've spoken about it obviously since, and she's upset about that. But at the same time, the way things played out, I mean, it all worked out anyway. But anyway, so now things are getting really bad. So I get in a really bad physical altercation with the girl.
That girl you were dating.
Yeah. And so I'd never been a guy to lay hands
Hit
on
a
a
woman,
girl
yeah.
or anything like that. And I mean, but this was
It's an old-time bottom
an
for you.
insane blow up. I mean, there
Yeah.
was another girl involved, kind of egging on the whole situation, and I mean some really really crazy stuff.
Well, sure, you've got a lot of latent anger from her doing what she did to you, you know.
And yeah, and me and I was
There's no excuse for hitting, obviously.
No,
No,
never. And and I didn't treat her well either. So I mean, we definitely had hatred for
So
each
what
other.
happens after this fight?
She goes to the police, and I go to jail.
That's what you went to jail for.
The first time.
The first time.
So this is in town. That's the thing.
Yeah, they say if you call the cops, somebody has to go to jail. So you go to jail. What did you get? I mean, like convicted or something?
So I went to jail on like six felony counts of domestic violence. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So I'm in there, and my bond is like $125,000. This is my first time ever being arrested or anything.
So you don't get out?
Well, so I'm in there for 40 days and 40 nights. Exactly.
Wow, that's the number of testing.
Moses
and Noah and Jesus. 40 days and 40 nights.
So I was a big fan of Michael Jackson's music, right? And
yeah.
I'm listening to Beat It, or I'm listening to Billie Jean.
Yeah.
And what's he say?
40
days and for 40 nights the law was on her side is one of the lines from that song.
No.
And I remember listening to that, and I mean, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan.
God'll use anything to talk to you.
And I couldn't believe it. So 40 days and 40 nights, my grandmother, so my mom is a hairdresser in town, and she knows lots of people. And so she meets, at this time she's up in Melbourne, and she works for a lady who knows this woman who's running for judge in Brevard County and is this amazing lawyer.
Yeah.
And so my grandma puts up the money to hire this lawyer for me. And my grandma also bonds me out of jail. So she pays like the $10,000 to get me out.
Okay.
So I get out. I have this amazing lawyer. And
now who puts up the bond? Your grandmother?
my grandmother.
Yeah.
And so I get out of jail, and I'm not allowed to talk to the girl, obviously. That's like a pretty big no-no, after a domestic.
Oh, yeah. No, you're
thing.
not.
There's a huge no contact and all that stuff.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll go back to
I'll
jail
go right
in a
back to
flash.
jail, and my bond will be revoked.
Yep.
Grandma's out 10 grand.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I vow that I'm not gonna break that. There's no way. Well, she gets a hold of me, and everybody's telling me,
stay away.
well, unfortunately, no. All the people in jail and stuff are saying, listen, man, if she gets a hold of you, you got to convince her to drop the charges.
Oh.
So, and I say, no, there's no way. I'm not doing it. I don't want anything to do with her. That's
So
it.
you need to listen to that inner voice.
Yeah, I'm done.
You didn't.
No way.
What
I didn't.
happens?
So I get back in touch with her, and now it's not about getting her to drop the charges. I just am so like, it was so weird. It was such a horrible relationship, but I was so thankful to have her back in my life that I just did anything I could to continue it. You know, so I'm sneaking around with her. Obviously, I mean, I could literally go back to jail like
Codependency,
this,
right?
like extreme codependency. So this is where it gets bad. In the mix of all this, she gets pregnant.
Oh boy.
So now,
But is it yours?
I mean, with the timing and everything, it 100% seems like it. And what we
So
were
do you
up
have a
to,
child today from her?
I do.
Oh,
Yeah. So her name's Chloe. She's 4,
beautiful name.
and she lives in Indiana with the mother's sister.
Okay.
So
And you're accepting of this.
She's great. She's great where she's at right now,
Okay,
and
okay.
we'll connect those dots.
CHLOE?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So now she drops the charges, but the state can still pick the charges up.
Uh-oh.
So the state can still, and I mean, I'm looking at like serious time. These aren't like soft charges. This is like really bad
Like
stuff.
multiple felonies.
Yeah, I mean, this is really
How
bad.
much time?
I mean,
are you looking
probably
at?
a minimum 5 years. There's no way that it was going to be less than 5
And for a
years.
young fellow like you, that's like a lifetime.
Right, and I mean, and it probably would have been more if I had any prior anything.
So what happens?
So my lawyer calls me one day and says, Joey, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? She goes, the state didn't pick the charges up.
Wow.
She goes, I have no explanation
Wow.
for it. She goes, we knew the girl wasn't going to be cooperative, and the state knows she's not going to cooperate because she signed papers saying, I'm not going to cooperate, so don't bother me. She goes, but the state always picks these up, these domestic. They're trying to make a point, that they don't tolerate it. She goes, they didn't pick it up. So you're free. Go meet your
You can go back to see her again legally?
yeah, it's like it never happened. I had an ankle monitor on at this time because I was out on bond. So I literally
You're
got
looking at 5 years to 10 years?
And I'm
my
free.
God. You're free. So
Just
what
like
happens next?
So they take my ankle monitor off. Literally an hour later, my stepdad calls me, who I haven't spent a lot of time with in like 5 years.
And says what?
And he says, Joey, I just got a phone call from my agency. He's a traveling MRI tech. He goes all over the country doing that.
Yeah.
He goes, and I just got a job in Alaska, and I've been wanting to go. It's summertime in Alaska. He's like, look, you just got out of all this crazy trouble. Why don't you just come with me? Why don't you just get out of town?
Wise advice.
Wise
Get away
advice.
from that. Bad companionship ruins good character, the Bible says.
But I have now, my next thing I have to tell him is, yeah, but she's pregnant. And
So
he goes,
what?
well, I guess you got to bring her with you.
Oh, no.
Get both of you guys out of there. So I do that.
Oh, no.
So the two of us and my stepdad
Oh,
go
no.
up to Fairbanks, Alaska.
Uh-oh.
She's like, a month pregnant or something.
Up there with the chosen frozen.
Yeah, so my first thing is, okay, where am I going to find a job, right? So I find this big 2-story restaurant and bar.
Yeah.
Big karaoke bar up top, because I know she can bartend and I can serve and bartend, and I'm thinking that's just a great idea.
And so, since so many people in Alaska are alcoholics, this is just going to be great.
It's going to be money making.
Oh, my word.
'cause, I
Let
mean,
the
even the
party
ones-
continue.
yeah,
down the hole again.
Because the guys up there are usually single, and they're making tons of money on like the
Fishing,
doing the oil, or there's huge construction up there. I mean, there's crazy money to be made up there because nobody wants to go up there. And but what they do is they go to the bars and they spend tons of money. I mean, tons of money. So we do that.
I know some of these fishermen pulling 40,000 a
Yeah.
hole in one
Oh,
week.
yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Coming back from those deep. What's that TV show where the waters,
Something catch. Deadliest catch.
Deadliest catch.
Yeah. So we're going and we're making good money. We get a place. Living with these two girls. They had a third bedroom available for cheap, and so because my stepdad, he goes on to his next job.
Where?
I think he goes to Pittsburgh or Texas or something.
You should have gone to Texas.
Because I was
boy.
supposed to keep going with him wherever he went. I was just gonna keep going.
So you got
Just to keep
stuck.
things-
You got frozen in Alaska.
I get stuck. Yeah. So things are actually going reasonably well.
Yeah.
She's pregnant. She's not drinking. Keep in mind, she stopped everything cold turkey right when she found out she was pregnant. She smoked too and quit smoking. I mean,
For the baby.
For the baby, everything
See,
just stopped.
there is an essential goodness there.
Well, yeah, and I saw it, and so I'm hopeful at this point. I'm like, maybe this is actually.
It's
gonna work out.
amazing how many women get dry, get clean
Yeah.
for their baby. There's something instinctual, and that's very honorable.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's the greatest position in the world to be a mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Closest thing to God we have on earth.
Yeah. So this made me advocate for her, especially to my mom and sisters who are like, they're legitimately angry with me for the first time in my life. You know, like they aren't talking to me.
Why?
They are really mad because I got back together with this girl and got her pregnant and then brought her with me to Alaska
And
and,
they're
and
angry.
lied to them.
They're angry because they're fearful.
They're fearful. Yeah, absolutely.
And scared
they're hurt.
for you.
Yeah, and they're hurt because I went against my my better judgment and their
You're their
advice.
adorable little brother they want to protect.
Right. So everything's actually pretty good up until she has a baby. She has a baby and she starts drinking again. And the first time that she drinks again after that, she was with a couple girlfriends that we worked with, and they were nice girls, and they were just at the place that we work, so it wasn't anything crazy. I was always the trusting guy. I was like, yeah, go have fun, whatever, it's fine. So she comes home and is violent right away. So the first thing I do is I call the police. I say, listen, I need you guys here. I was like, because there's nobody else was home. The girls were like out of town or something. So we were there by ourselves, and she is hitting me, and I'm holding our baby, and she's hitting me, and she's just acting, I mean, just wild. So the cops show up. I tell them, listen, we've been down this road before. I was like, I am not going back to jail. I need somebody here to know that what's going on. I was like, I have not put any hands on her. I was like, I don't know what you guys need to do, but like we need to be separated or something.
So what happens?
So they basically say, well, you know, you guys both live here, so I can't tell anybody to leave.
So in Florida, somebody has to go to prison.
Right. So in Alaska, I guess they do it a little different because they're just like, all right, if you guys can just calm down and whatever. So she stopped, you know, went to sleep or whatever. But at that point, right there, I knew.
You got a vamoose.
Yeah, I got to do something.
Because there ain't going to be a solid truce.
No, because I still have, I mean, I'm still traumatized from, I wasn't a jail, somebody that was destined for jail, you know, like growing up the way that I did and everything. So I'm still a little bit traumatized.
Either was Joseph, either was, you know.
Right. So.
You kind of look like you would expect Joseph to look.
I'll take it. Yeah. So now, I think we got 1 month from now, my sister is about to get married here in like Fort Pierce in Vero. Yeah. And I'm supposed to come down for her wedding, obviously. So I devised this plan.
Where's the baby now? Who's taking care of the baby?
We both are.
Okay, but you fly down together without her.
No. So this is where I devised the crazy plan.
Okay, the crazy plan.
My plan is to come back with Courtney, with the girl and the baby. We
don't know the last name. It's okay.
And tell her, listen, like this is a serious problem. Like, you need to get help or something here, and you need to be with your family. Like, cause I'm like, if I stay up there with her and we're alone, like this is gonna go bad. So I convinced her to stay in Florida, and I'm gonna go back and carry on my life with the baby. It's a terrible idea. I mean, none of that's good. But all my only thought was I just have to get away from this girl.
So what happens?
So I do it, and I end up flying back to Fairbanks, Alaska, with a 2-month-old baby by myself.
And she stays here.
And she stays.
So you're rearing the child.
So I'm rearing the child.
So she's off having a party. She's giving the responsibility over to you.
Well, unfortunately, I wish it was that good, but I wasn't being good at this time. I was starting to use meth. So my thought process was all out of whack. I was in like a flight mode, you know, just trying to get things, just get separated from her. But then what do? I have a baby now, you know. So anyway, I go back to Alaska and I'm there for maybe like a month and a half or something. And then without even telling me she's coming back, she just pops back up. She just flies back and shows back up at the house. So at this point, my fight or flight really kicks in, and so I just move out of the place that I was living at because she was back and she insisted that she wasn't going to leave no matter what. So, and she had every right to be there because we were both on the lease. So I take off, and at this point I don't have a house anymore. So that was my
Oh boy.
that's my first step towards being actually homeless. So so at this
Continue.
point, I don't have a relationship with my daughter anymore, really, because I don't live at the same place.
Hmm.
I like I said, I started getting involved in drug use and stuff. So, and that's where I meet this lower level of con men in society that I didn't even know existed
Oh.
in Fairbanks, Alaska. I have a problem with one of my vehicles, and I meet this guy. I'm at a bar or something. I'm talking about it. He goes, "Oh, well, I know some people that have a shop, and they'll let you
Mm.
come in because it's cold up there. So
Mm.
you got to work inside. So they're like, you can come to this shop and you can fix your
Mm.
vehicle up, and they won't charge you anything to be in there. They're pretty cool. So I go there, and they have this place dressed up to where it actually looks like a semi-legitimate place.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out it's not a legitimate place at all.
Uh-oh.
It's just a drug den. And the person who owns it is the son of a very wealthy local,
Mm-hmm.
and he has this. He just has given his son this place that has all these bays and everything, and all these tools and everything like that. His son's like in his 40s or 50s.
Mm-hmm.
He's an older guy, but he's just a drug addict. And so all these people have gravitated to there just because it's a space that they can live and I mean there's like a residential side of this shop. I mean it was this huge, probably like 7,500 square foot
Wow.
place. So next thing you know, I find myself there, and it turns out that they basically pull people like me there that have money and that are like that still have like kind of a normal life but are slipping into this horrible dark side
Mm-hmm.
of living, and they make sure they get all the way there. So they con you out of your money. They steal from you. They basically like manipulate you into like helping them do weird stuff. I mean, it was just a crazy thing. Like, and I mean, these are guys. You see their bag, and they have 200 credit cards like this. And they have all these stolen phones and iPads, and they're going through every single one of them, going through every app, financial app, trying to get into it and try to steal any money they can from whoever they can, cash apps, whatever. I mean, they make a living just by doing this.
Mm. And it's not. And as I told you, I met somebody like that, and he said it's the thrill of it
Right.
because they're usually quite brilliant. If they went into legitimate business, they could do well.
Yeah, so many of them were. But that was the thing. They were able to put on like a different front. When you first meet them, and they seem like actually just intelligent, regular people, and then it turns out they are just
Mm.
absolute criminals. So at this point, I don't have any money. I don't have a place to live anymore. I would
Mhm.
pop in and see my daughter every once in a while, but I mean, I
Well,
was
who's watching your daughter?
okay. So I thought that the mom was, but it turned out that she was just kind of running around doing
Well, you
whatever.
said the mom was back in Florida.
No, she came back. Remember, she popped back in on me. She just
Oh.
popped back up out
Okay.
of nowhere, like after like a month and a half. Just didn't
Okay.
say. That's how I ended up leaving my place of living, because she came back to it.
Oh, okay.
She came back to it, and I just got out of there. I was like, it was just too
Well,
much.
at least
for
you
me.
knew enough to do that.
Right. Well, so now she's actually being watched by one of our roommates. Mom's was a retired lady and had babysat for Chloe a couple times, and so she ends up watching her like full time, like just taking her in. And her thought, she was actually a nice Christian woman. She was hoping that we would get our act together, and then be able to step back up and be parents again. Well, that wasn't happening on my side. I was just down the rabbit hole. I mean, just like staying up for days, doing drugs, and
Yeah.
just, I mean, I was homeless. I just had nothing going on. And then
Yeah.
the mom on the other side was just doing whatever too. I don't
Okay,
really
let's
know.
get to the point where you get converted.
Yeah. So now I go to jail.
Why?
Because I'm in a stolen car in Fairbanks, Alaska, and so they put me in jail for vehicle theft.
Now they look up your history in Florida, and that's going to work against you.
No, actually.
Oh, there
because-
was no history. That
no,
was
'cause it all
expunged.
it all got dropped, so they didn't
Oh,
even
okay.
exist.
That was
So
expunged. Okay.
So I get in there, and I'm in jail. It's like a catch and release. I'm back out after a couple of days. You think
Yeah.
I'd learned my lesson, but no. So
Yeah.
I get arrested again
Yeah.
for it just being for being in another stolen vehicle. All these guys, they just had stolen vehicles all the time. Anyway, so this time it doesn't look as good. It was like a misdemeanor the first time, so this time now they're gonna make it a felony. So I'm in jail for like still only like 3 weeks, and this random little Baptist church would come in to the Fairbanks Correctional Center every week, and this little old guy with his guitar would sing some of the old classic songs, just the Amazing Grace, the Old Rugged Cross, and it
God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound those that are wise in their own eyes. So
Yeah.
here comes this little guy.
I mean, and he just said the same things every time,
What?
you know, but just about salvation and just I mean, his teachings were just
Wow.
it was just very basic, and he
But
sounded
consistent.
but consistent every time. So
New foundation.
yep. So I would go just so that I could sing songs, just because it was music again, and I
Yeah.
liked it. And then the other church that would come in, I would actually get a guitar from the chaplain's office, and they would let me play guitar. So this is I didn't believe in Jesus. I didn't believe in anything. I was atheist my whole
Yeah.
upbringing, everything like that. I was
Were
the one-
you?
Oh, I actually said we were too intelligent as a species to possibly believe that there's a God. Well, that was what my go-to line in high school.
It is written, the mind of man has enmity with the spirit of Christ.
Right. So one day, I'm paying enough attention, and he does a little altar call, salvation call, at the end of our little time together there. It's called Reformers Unanimous, RU. That was like the name of their little Baptist group. It was for drug addicted people and
Yeah.
criminals, and it just cut right through to my heart. And I think it was January 9th. It would have been like 2020.
Wow.
And it just cut right through to me. And
So you go forward in
I'm
the
just-
service?
I'm just weeping.
Are they calling people? Yeah,
Well,
go
it's a
ahead.
small room, like it's
Yeah,
a small
yeah.
room like this.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're really so he prays for me. He tells me what it means, what it means to be saved, and I'm all for it. And then I get called down, and they let me out of jail like this. So I'm like, look at the Lord working. He just freed me just like that.
The same day?
It
Or
was like 2 days later.
how
but I
that-
went from
why?
not-
Why'd they do that?
They said, the state just made a deal, and I have a public defender, and public defenders are not known up there for getting anything done fast. So I'm thinking the Lord's working in an amazing
He
way. Right?
is.
Well, it turns out,
What did I tell you about Ernie Hollins, man? The guy had Jesus walked into a stall and he was let go early too. Go ahead.
well, unfortunately, Rhett,
Yeah.
I don't think this was the Lord. I think this was
Oh.
actually the enemy, because this is
Uh-oh.
in the 2020. This is the heat of COVID.
Oh.
So now I'm getting let out into a town where everything's shut down. I'm still homeless. I've only been in jail for
No one's
a couple
going
of
to the
months.
bars.
Nobody's going to church. There's nothing to step out into.
Oh my word! And you're up in Alaska.
So I'm up in Alaska,
Oh.
and I'd only been in jail for a couple, I think like 2 months. So that's not a lot of time.
Are you allowed
for
to
your
leave the
brain
state? Are you free that you could leave the
No,
state?
because now I'm a felon too. So yeah,
So it's not over yet.
so it's not over yet.
So you
So
can't even leave.
no, so I'm out there, and I slide right
Oh,
back
Sure.
into the old way. So that's why I liked it. This part isn't the prettiest part of the story, because I had an encounter with Jesus. I remember it was a genuine. I gave my life to the Lord in that moment, and I remember going back to the block,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
that part of the jail, and
Yeah.
and talking to people, and I mean, I'm instantly like evangelizing. I mean, I'm like telling people how I've been
Did you
radically
feel
saved.
something within you?
Oh, 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, I was a new creation in that moment,
And you knew it.
and I knew it with
You,
all
when
my
you,
heart.
if you don't know it, folks, you haven't been born again. If you have been born, you know it.
Yeah, I mean, without
Yep.
beyond
It's like a
any
light
shadow of
switch,
doubt.
on
Yeah.
off.
But
That's
I
why
didn't-
Jesus said, "Make sure ye are born from above, born
Yeah.
once of the flesh and once of the spirit." Go ahead.
But then the next part of that, and is having a relationship with God,
Mhm.
and furthering that relationship, and
Yeah.
carrying on that relationship, having conversation, having true communion with the Lord, and being
Oh,
being
boy.
one, like having a relationship
Would have been
with the
better
Holy
for you
Spirit,
to just stay in prison.
there.
Ah.
So I get out. Now I'm not reading my Bible every day.
No.
I'm just back into survival mode, and it takes me, and a whole year goes by where I go right down the same rabbit hole, and now I get arrested for felon in possession of a firearm.
What are you doing
Now-
with that?
Just being dumb.
Hmm.
Just for no reason. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, you just come across
Okay,
things
what
like that.
happens now?
Well, now I go back to jail, and this time, so I think the enemy let me out of jail, and then God put me back in jail, because now I'm going back to jail, and I'm not getting out in 2 months. Now I sit still for 8 months, and I don't even hear from my public defender. I don't hear
You don't
anything.
even hear from him.
No. So the first night that I'm back in jail, though, I have a radical encounter. Not this time. Now I've already had an encounter with Jesus, but I didn't know the Holy Spirit at this point at all. So I have a radical encounter with the Holy Spirit. I'm listening to worship music, dude. This guy random guy gives me. He goes, "Here, man. I know you just got here, but here's a radio." Gives me a radio. He's like, "Just borrow it. I got 2 of them. Just go listen to."
Is he a Christian or no?
No.
But
But
you
just
happen to listen to Christian songs.
so yeah. I just find the Christian station, and I'm listening to it, and I feel. I mean, I have peace. I have joy, and here I am in a jail cell in Fairbanks, Alaska. Now undoubtedly about to be a double felon.
Yeah.
So like having one
Wow.
felony was bad enough. I'm thinking like my life's never gonna be the same. I'm a felon now.
Oh,
This is the worst
boy.
thing ever. I have shame. I have guilt. I have all this stuff.
Sure.
And now I go back and I just do it all again, except even worse.
Yeah.
So now I really am not thinking too much of myself. But in this moment, I'm totally set free from all of it. And I remember that was the pivotal point right there. That's when I had the radical encounter with the Holy Spirit, and I just from that day
Now,
on.
what does that mean? Explain to people out there what that means to you.
Well, to
Speaking
me,
in tongues, or feeling the warmth, or
well, so
a
this
voice,
this was just a comforting
yeah,
that I can only explain it as like I was
beyond words.
beyond words. I was comforted in that
Yeah,
moment
yeah.
to the point where I felt everything,
Here
all
you
those
are.
things were
You're
just
at the
fell off me.
bottom of the barrel. You come
Yeah.
to the end of yourself.
Right.
Second, third time in prison now.
Right.
This is it.
Yeah, this should be the worst time, and in this moment, it's the
You feel
freest,
wealthy inside.
the best I'd ever felt in my entire life.
Oh
So
my
so
word.
that was just it. And so from that day on till this day today,
Yeah.
I have never, not been in the Word or in prayer.
Okay.
or
Now
through-
this was how many years ago now? 2, 3 years ago.
So this was like three
Okay.
and a half years
So
ago.
what happens? How come you're not still in jail for all this stuff?
Well, so my public defender ends up getting me a deal for like 2 years flat.
Oh boy.
Now I'm supposed to have a couple more years of probation too, so I'm looking at like 2 years flat with like 4 years of probation.
It means
so
you're
that means
stuck in Alaska.
well, there's something called the Interstate Compact
Oh, okay.
that allows you
So are you
to
still on
transfer.
probation now or no?
No, I'm not. So that's
Thank God.
that's another good part of the testimony though. So I go right to a halfway house because after you're in jail for a certain amount of time, you're eligible.
How
to go
long
to,
did you go in
to the
of the 2 years?
So I was in the jail for 8 months, and then I had to do 8 or 9 months at the halfway house. So
Oh.
while I'm at the halfway house,
Well, that's not bad.
right? So when I'm in jail,
Yeah.
so I start having I build a relationship with the chaplain. So like I'm going in there and I'm just telling him about like how I'm having these radical encounters with I'm hearing from God. I'm like I know that there's a purpose for my life. And,
This is the counselor, or this is
yeah,
who?
the chaplain. in the
Oh,
jails.
chaplain.
Yeah.
So he's not thinking you're a nut because of this.
No, he's like
Great.
cheering me
So
on.
go ahead. Go ahead. So what happened?
So he starts calling me down to his office just so I can play the guitar. So just so that I can get my hands on a guitar again. Because
Yeah.
I tell him I love playing guitar. So this COVID time's still going on, and they're not letting churches come in.
Oh.
So the chaplain and I start holding church services in the gym because we're already in there.
Just
so
the two of you, or?
just the two of us. So he would do I would do a little bit of worship, 5 songs,
Wow.
same 5 songs every week.
Yeah.
Just whatever he had printed me out.
Yeah.
And just the basic songs. I mean, and it was nothing special.
Yeah.
But here there's 20, 30, sometimes 40 guys coming in, and they're worshiping the Lord, praising and worshiping the Lord. And then he would deliver a little message, and that's it. But all of a sudden, there was my purpose. I was getting up out of bed every day, ready to, my meetings with him were setting up what we were gonna do for these little church services, and then I'd go set up the whole gym. I'd set up the PA and all this stuff, and I have my guitar, and I mean, it was like I was living life.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't in jail. I felt like I was free. I mean, they would just buzz me. They would just let me. I like walked freely around the whole place, like because I was just the guy who set up for church. So like they're just buzzing me out, letting me go. I'm like, it was wild. It was wild. So now I go to the halfway house, and there's a guy named Dave from a local church that would come in. He's been coming into this halfway house for 10 years and just playing every Friday. So I listen to them, and I'm like, hey, when I can do passes, I want to go play on your worship team. So he goes, sure, yeah, just come on over, and then we'll do it. So I go. I end up playing with him the whole time that I'm at the halfway house. So
Yeah.
every time I would go to
And where's this halfway house?
in Fairbanks.
Okay.
So I'd go to church services. I would go to the rehearsal once, during the week, and then I'd do the church service on Sunday with them. And so this was like a little training ground for me to learn what it means. I'd never played on a worship team or done anything like that. So now I get to spend this time up there with a guy. He's like 75. He's been doing it his whole life,
Yeah.
and he gets to I learn all this new music, and I get all this time up on a platform at a church, and I get
You're being prepped for the future.
get
there.
prepped for the future. And then
What happens next?
So then my interstate compact gets approved, which means I get to transfer my probation to Florida. And
Where's the daughter and the baby now?
So what happened is the daughter was with the woman that I told you about.
Oh, okay.
But then
That's where she is now.
my ex's sister
Yeah.
came and picked her up from
Mhm.
Indiana and brought her back there, and so
Mm.
she's been there this whole time.
Mhm.
In the meantime, my ex has gone on to have a kid with another guy and stuff all in
Okay.
the meantime. So
So you come back down here.
I come back down here. I have to stay with my mom on probation, so I have to have a stable residence and
Yeah.
stuff. And she lives right down the street from the mall, and so I start going to Oceans.
Oh, in Vero Beach, Florida.
Mhm.
You start going to Oceans Unite, and that's out at the mall.
And so I remember telling my mom, I was like, look, I just want to go be a congregation member and just go, go sing the songs and be out there and hear the word. And that's it. I'm not going to try to be on a worship team or anything. Like, it's not time for that right now.
What happens? You got to watch out with that Pastor Alex.
Yeah. So
He called this complete unknown. She hadn't even ever played a piano and says, you have the anointing to be in music. And she was great. What was her name? I forget. Cheyenne? She's
Cheyenne.
amazing.
Yep.
He called that out of the blue.
Right. So I go, okay, well, I can't sit around and do nothing, right? So I'm like, well, maybe I could just volunteer or serve one way or another. So I start serving on the soundboard. So my first weekend, I'm going to serve on the soundboard. I go up.
Working with Pastor James, or what's his name? The guy from Cuba, the doctor who came here?
Pastor William?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's tech. But
Yeah.
so I'm doing the soundboard. But I go up to Pastor Alex, and I'd never really talked to him. So this was just an opportunity for me to say hi. I said, hey, I'm excited. I'm going to be working on the soundboard this weekend for your services. He goes, yeah, you're not going to be doing that long. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I've already seen what you're going to be doing. He's like, you're going to have a guitar in your hand, and you're going to be up there leading.
He saw this in the spirit.
Yeah.
This guy's a prophet.
He's never seen me hold a guitar. He's never heard me sing. He's never.
No, that's amazing. That's the second time he did that.
Standing there with my mom, and it's at like the chili cook-off or something. So I'm just going up to him, hoping to have a friendly conversation.
Yeah.
And he just drops this on me.
Oh my word.
So I do the sound thing for.
He had a dream about another couple that were going to divorce that day. He has a dream the night before. So does the guy and they're reconciling. It's the most beautiful marriage, anyway.
Yeah. So
you probably know who I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah,
so just like that, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm in
amazing.
a Wednesday.
He calls you out.
Just like that.
Knows nothing about you.
Yep. So in the time that it takes for me to continue to be at the church and be like a full-time member and everything so that I can understand what the church is all about, for him to justify putting me up on the platform, because he's still there's still order, and there's still he saw that, but he knew there was still going to be a time period before I could go up there. He didn't just I'd only been going for a month or two. He's not just going to throw me up on the platform.
Yeah.
So in that waiting period, I'm going to a U group, the weekly small groups that we do, and my U group leader, the group that I get put in, is the husband of the worship leader.
Really?
And he asked me, and now keep in mind, I told him I played a little guitar. He goes, hey, well, how about you just start bringing your guitar, and you can do the worship for our U group. Just like pick 3 songs, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
So I do that every week for 5 months.
Okay.
Training ground, once again. So about halfway through it, the worship leader, his wife, comes home, sees one of my printout sheets, because I would make lyric sheets, for everybody, so they would have lyrics for the songs. And she sees the set, and she goes, Could you do this right now for me? Could you play it for me right now? Yeah. And I go, of course, let's do it. So next, we're at the end of the U group, and I'm playing through the songs again, and we're just worshiping the Lord. She's there to see it, and so then I do the E-course like 3 weeks later, and then I'm up on the platform, worshiping the Lord for this church that's 6 times the size of the church that I was at in Fairbanks, and then so now about a year goes by, I get married. I haven't.
Now, when did you begin working officially under getting paid by the church?
So, that's where I'm going. So a year later, so like from October to October.
So you're doing this for no pay at this point,
right?
How are you making a living?
First I was working at this is where it gets funny. At a metal fabrication shop.
Okay.
Building like car suspensions and stuff for like drag race cars, and then I'm working at a place called Gator Lumber.
Okay.
Gator Building Supply, which is a great. They were
Sure.
really awesome to me.
Okay.
So then I get
We have
contacted.
very little time left. 3
Gotcha.
minutes.
So then I get contacted by Pastor Alex,
Yeah.
and he just says, "I want you to consider coming here full time, working here full time." And I say, there's nothing.
Nothing to
There's nothing
consider.
to
I'm
consider.
in.
I was like, that's it. I mean, I went to school to be a music teacher, to be a
Yeah.
music director.
Yeah. When are we going to hear that
Now
horn, man?
Now I have a couple but the jaw thing. Now I have a couple felonies, so I'm never going to be able to teach in a school. How am I ever going to direct music? How am I ever going to do it? And the Lord says, this is how you're going to do it. So now I'm the music director of this incredible, flourishing, growing church, and I have these amazing musicians that I get to work with, a congregation that loves to praise and worship the Lord, and a pastor and Pastor Alex and Pastor Naomi, who are our biggest fans and want the worship team to do well and to grow. And I mean, they have visions for orchestras and huge choirs, and you know, this is just the beginning of something so huge. And I could have never, ever imagined.
And have you ever heard a guest speaker, or the singer there? No. I tell you what, he came in here and heard my song. He has no idea of my past, no idea that I recorded at Bill Gaither's studio, no idea that I'm anointed by the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. For the music, and he comes in here and says, "You've got to come on Easter and sing this song." A couple of years ago, I said, "I don't sing in churches anymore." And that little girl we just mentioned that he called out, she learned. We couldn't find my tape. Well, I can't do my tape without my strings and my oboes and my French horns and the whole orchestra. So we can't do. We can't find it. So well, she does it on the piano. It was the best rendition ever, and it was anointed of God. I mean, it's just, and that guy never has anybody as a guest singer there. So how did he do? He did the same thing with you. When I got born again, same thing.
Yeah.
Within 2 weeks, I was invited to this Bible study, and they asked me to lead in singing. That the Lord has made, that the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know what? We were faithful with the little bit that the Lord had given us.
Yeah.
And I mean, just the weekly things at the jail and all that. I mean, I put my whole heart into it, and now you know I'm scheduling 12 songs a week and leading prayers. You know, I'm doing more than I could have ever imagined I'd be able to do. And I know that it's not in my strength. You know, it's in His. So.
Simply, and you got married.
Yeah, I got married.
And I met your wife. She's a cutie little thing.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's not musical or anything like that at all, so she balances me out perfectly.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be the center of attention.
No, she's great. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what. So, and of course, it's a very important ministry because in some of these mega or big churches like this one you're at, you got to be careful not to reflect the glory back, like almost putting a mirror up in front of yourself and make sure it goes back up to heaven. Because me being a man of ego, it's very hard to go, no. If they're seeing me, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? If they're seeing you.
It's a huge consideration in how we choose our songs and stuff. It's to glorify the Lord, and it's supposed to be, you know, singing to the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be all about what the Lord's done. I mean, it's important that we tell our testimony,
Sure.
right? And we say what the Lord has done for us.
Look what
but
you've done.
not so much, I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day.
Yeah, I mean mine.
The Lord makes my day better, you know.
No, it's majesty, worship His majesty.
Yes, He is
Joey,
worthy.
thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having
We'll
me.
have to have you back in the future. It's I feel the spirit of the Lord, and God bless you, be with you, make His face to shine upon you, and may you be part of harvesting many souls out there, all right?
Amen.
Okay, Joey, God bless.
God bless you.
Who loves you?